figured out that God did not put me on this earth to play in the NFL. So I was like, well, there's got to be something else that's fun, and I don't have a normal job. And I went to the library, read a book.
All right, Matt Patrick Kelly here. Welcome to the Knight's Path podcast. The Knight's Path, where I try to be the best, most badass male version of myself mentally, physically, and spiritually. Today, great buddy of mine, Chance King, is on. Welcome, Chance.
Hey, thanks, brother.
So a little background. Chance and I know each other. We were both fellow coaches for Chris Sajnog, retired Navy SEAL, sniper, and firearms instructor. He had a website coaching platform. He still does. And that's where Chance and I met. And one of the biggest things Chance ever did for me when we were fellow coaches on there is he came up with a nickname for me, and he called me Viking Bear. He said, I look like the love child of a Viking and a bear. And I was like, I'll take that nickname
Grizzly
forever.
Bear.
Viking
Specifically,
Bear.
Grizzly Bear. Not just any bear. A grizzly
So,
bear, man.
So Chance, for the audience, give a little background. I know, military captain, and kind of what your career, and then kind of what you're going on and what part of the earth you're on, and homesteading and all that crazy stuff. Just give us a synopsis, bro.
Yeah, man. Nothing too crazy. I don't have any. I was looking at some of the guys you've had on this podcast here recently. I was like, I am not those men. But, had a great childhood, grew up small town in Alabama, played football, all the typical American boy stuff, wanted to play quarterback in the NFL. First day of spring training for 7th grade football, I figured out that God did not put me on this earth to play in the NFL. So I was like, well, there's got to be something else that's fun, and I don't have a normal job. And I went to the library, read a book on Marine Corps boot camp, and I was like, dude, I could go into the military. And being a kid, you don't know what branch or anything like that. And finally settled on the Army. Wanted to be an infantryman. And in high school, I was a junior in high school when 9/11 happened. Oh. And I was like, oh, crap, I'm going to miss that one. It was like, hey, let's go. But I figured, like the only war I ever knew of, like while I was alive, were places like Somalia and then Desert Storm. Yeah. And I was a little kid. I was like, that's going to be over. But I was like, man, I'm enlisting. And my dad, was very adamant that me and my brother go to college because that I know of. I don't think anybody in my family had. I was like, no, I'm enlisting. So we were going to go, I looked at West Point. I looked at ROTC, and we had a deal. If I get an ROTC scholarship or went to West Point, then I would do that. If not, I would enlist. And so one thing led to another. Didn't want to go to West Point, and ended up getting an ROTC scholarship, which I thought I had no chance of doing. So I went to Auburn there, my senior year was when Iraq kicked off, and I was like, man, I'm gonna miss that one too because I'm gonna be stuck in school for 4 years. But if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans. So I'd always wanted to be an infantry officer. Ended up being an engineer officer, but not the smart kind. We played with explosives and guns and stuff like that. And it was great, man. I loved being with combat engineers. They're the most intelligent, crazy, psycho people you'll ever meet. Like, love those dudes, man. And so went to Iraq as a route clearance platoon leader. So we looked for bombs on the side of the road. I was in a combined arms battalion. So when I got back from Iraq, I was an infantry company executive officer, then went to staff for a few years. Then after about 7 years, I was like, I've done everything I want to do. I want to go back to the house. So moved to Nashville, or outside of Nashville, was working there for a while. And then my brother owns a business down here in Alabama, asked me to come work with him. So moved down here in 2017. And that's where we're at right now, living little small town. I don't even know if it's a town, but outside of Huntsville, Alabama. Got a few acres, trying to start a homestead and just get after it, man.
Sweet. So I know you had chickens and stuff like that. And like when you and I were scheduling this podcast, you're like, hey, let's do it at this window because I'm going to be training some guys. And we could get into that in a little bit because I wish it was your friggin' neighbor and we could train, team tactics and stuff like that. But also you're like, hey, I got to squeeze you between training some guys and then between planting, right? So, I mean, you're like the all-American man, just doing stuff.
Man,
you got chickens, you got compost, you're planting. What else you got going on as far as the homestead and stuff goes, brother?
Man, we just today we're planting potatoes, and I think my wife said tomatoes. We've got some chicks. We're moving into out of the brooder into the chicken coop.
Yeah.
At some point, last year about this time, I started putting in some fence. We got a few goats because I have no clue what I'm doing with livestock. I figured I'd rather kill a couple $100 goats than a $1,000 cow by accident. So
right.
Now I'm going to fence in the rest of my front and back pasture. And I always said I'd never put up a fence during the summer ever again. Dumbest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
But that's about to happen too. So trying to get some cows in soon. But man, I don't know. Like we've been tremendously blessed. We've got some acreage. We've got the ability to work, and just being able to show our kids like, hey, this is the beauty that God gave us, man. Like this land, I think we in America, we've become so desensitized to the beauty around us and like how things grow and what this earth does for us. And I don't mean that from like a hippie standpoint or anything, but like you think like, hey, I'm working hard to start these seeds and then they grow and you do this. And, you see your kids get excited when like they get to pick a tomato or whatever, just any of that, and just out working and like actually living life and not looking at a screen, seeing other people life, just getting after it, man. Like, you talk about you just wanting to be the hardest man you can be. Like when people ask me, like, why do you work out? Why do you train? Like, I didn't come up with this slogan. I can't remember where I heard it from, but I was like, man, I just want to be the hardest person anybody ever tries to kill. Like, I figure if you do that, then you're there spiritually, mentally, physically. You're being an example for your boys. You're being an example of the type of man you want your daughter to marry. I mean, I've got 3 boys and a girl, and like, I don't know. I want my wife to never regret that she married me, and I want my little girl to be like to compare potential spouses, potential husbands to me. It's like a good way, not a bad way.
Right.
And my boys, I want to give them an example, and build a legacy for our family. Growing up, I always thought legacies, I was like, man, that's a pretty selfish thing. Like, why are you so arrogant to think about, I want people to remember me? But like as I get a little older, I'm thinking like the legacy is not about you. It's about what legacy are you leaving behind, like for them, the good and the bad, to learn from your mistakes and emulate your successes, So I don't know, dude. I just try to get after it, man.
Absolutely. Legacy is not things either, right? Legacy is a lot of attitude and mental and lessons and values and principles and appreciation. I love what you're teaching your kids about the earth. And I mean, I'm more hippie now, if you want to call it that, because I love Mother Earth. I love what it provides. I love, and like one thing that you said about the earth and appreciating what, the work that goes into it and all the things and all the reactions and things that have to happen for us to be provided with food, that's just, it's all God's design. It's amazing, right? But, one of the things, everybody's looking at their screen and everybody's doing this. And I want to make this T-shirt that, it's got somebody looking down at a cell phone while they're walking. And then I want to say, look up, mother effer, because there's a portrait that's created every day. It's never the same, and it's beautiful, and it's the sky, and it's just, it's nature, it's beauty,
Dude, that's one thing my wife does a really good job of that with our kids. Like, because we're outside and I'm just like, man, I got to get stuff done. Like, I'm got to accomplish the task that I set before me for that day. But my wife is awesome about taking time, especially sunset, and she'll be like, hey, kids, come look at the sky. Like, look at what God blessed us with. Look at what God's the one that created that, and pointing that out. And like, I mean, I can look at a sunset and be like, oh, that is pretty. That is beautiful. But I don't like sit there and take time and process like, man, that's awesome. So Stephanie does a really good job of, processing all that and pointing it out to our kids and taking time to appreciate it.
Sweet. Well, hey, brother, let's talk about the physical a little bit, because I know when you and I first met each other, you were kind of doing, we kind of shared some workouts back and forth. And I'm going to have another buddy on that's, I kind of sent you what he was trying to get me. He's a strong man, does some crazy stuff. I'm not near that, but, what have you got going on in like, what was your training like when you were a younger man, and then where are you now? Because like for me, I just want functional fitness. I just want to be able to take care of myself. I'm not trying to lift a house. And kind of where are you at with your journey? Where did you start? Where are you going now?
It's kind of been all over the place. When I was a kid, like I would, playing football, like, high school, we would work out in strength training, and then, like during the school year, and then summer workouts. And I didn't put any thought into it. It was like, whatever the coaches tell me to do, I'm going to go do. And then you get in the Army, and it's like, oh, at least at that point in time when I was in, it's like, hey, running, push-ups, sit-ups. If you get time, go to the gym, do some bench press and, curls for the girls and that type thing. What I call like cosmetic lifting, just like bodybuilding type stuff. But yeah, it's mainly running. And I think like I had a Kuwait deployment where we were just over there training and stuff like that, not really doing much besides training. So you had plenty of time to go to the gym. I got up to, I'd been about 185, got up to about 193 because I was just lifting all the time. But again, I had no clue what I was doing, never researched it. And then I guess when I got out and I didn't have to go like run a bunch if I didn't want to, I still wanted to do that. But I found Mark Ripito, man. And I was like, that dude is awesome. Just lift big, get strong. My goal was to get a 500-pound deadlift. So, and this was like 2014, 2015. So I started I hit the strength work hard, like squats, deadlifts, bench press, and press, man. And I did some other stuff, but I was chasing a 500-pound deadlift.
Yeah.
And I think I got up to about 440 was the most I ever did. But I realized I'd gone from somewhere in 185 to about 220 pounds. And I was like, dude, I feel awful.
Yeah.
And so I still want to be strong, but I was like, man, this is not like, if I had to run 100 meters and then get in a gunfight, like I would probably pass out,
Yeah.
So I, started, not just eating everything in sight to chase that deadlift, and got back down. I'm about 195, 200 pounds now. And this is where I'm not trying to get big or get small. As long as I can move, I'm good. So right now, I'm doing a mix of, I'll do strength work, still focus on just the squats, deadlifts, hang cleans, and, a pressing movement, whether it's push press, bench press, whatever. But I'll do one strength thing each workout, like Monday through Friday. So I'll start out with, I like Wendler's 5-3-1. It's kind of what I do right now. And I'll do some strength work, and then I'll either do conditioning, whether that be sprints, metabolic conditioning, CrossFit type stuff or whatever. But workouts usually take 45 minutes to an hour. We've got a couple guys that'll come. I've got a squat rack in my barn. We'll come work out in the mornings and get after it and then go to work. But yeah, I'm the same line as you. I want to be functional. I want it to mean something. I don't waste my time doing curls or tricep extensions or anything like that. Just like is this time that I'm dedicating to fitness, is it going to make me a stronger person? Is it going to make me more effective? Is it going to make me harder to kill? So you got to have some strength. You've got guys, there's a guy that I train with that dude's conditioning is solid, man. He is awesome. But he's working on his strength, where my strength is better, but I'm working on my conditioning.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Sweet, man.
So,
love it. So what are you doing firearms wise? Because I know this is kind of out of the realm of what I normally talk with some of the guys and guests, but ammo is off the chart expensive. It's hard as hell to find, with the COVID crap that's going on. So, you still getting in some plinking and some shooting. You doing dry fire? You doing pistol, rifle? What do you got going on?
Everything, we try to do, and I say we, like, I've got a group of guys, man. I look at them like my brothers. I call them my brothers. There's a few of us, and from our Sunday school class, like just over the past few years, we got to where we would, hey, do you want to come shoot? And then it's like, hey, do you really want to know how to shoot, or do you just want to shoot? Because I don't want to like waste ammo if we're just gonna like plink. But like, and man, these guys are solid. Like they're good. So we'll I've got a group of guys. I think it's 5, 6 of us that'll text each other every morning, or at least every day, to the group text, like what we've our physical training, our spiritual training, like if we've done our quiet time, done a devotion, what kind of weapons training we've done that day, and we try to hold each other accountable for it. And so like with that, we'll do dry fire on our own, and then we'll get together. Maybe not every Saturday, but a lot of Saturday mornings we'll either do PT together, just like a group session, like just a gut check session kind of, or we'll get together. We might even do like some small unit tactic type stuff, just to, man, I don't know why. It's just to get after it, like just to, like not be the normal American male, like, because I think right now there's a lot of American males, but not a lot of American men. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Well, and one of our things, you look in the Bible, like all the great figures in the Bible are hard men. Like we look at Christ, and the stories you hear growing up was that how you think he was just nice and kind and gentle. It took a man to turn over the tables in the temple. It took a man to endure the temptation in the desert. And I don't say that to, like, he experienced those things in human form. And he was hard. And if we're supposed to be like Christ, then we need to be hard in everything, but also be meek and loving. And I know that went way off.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect, man, because that's true. That's the whole reason I'm on my journey, is because I didn't have enough of the love and the compassion. I had this facade, and it's like, man, to have a non-negotiables that you stand for, and you're not going to deviate off that path, whether you're tempted or not. That's absolutely what I love too about the Bible. I love King David's mighty men. Those were some bad mamma jammas, man. Holy crap. Those guys were, the elite.
It's funny
of the elite.
David's mighty men, because when our last son was born, I was like, man, I really want to name him after one of David's mighty men. And there was not a one that my wife would let me.
No, those names are crazy, dude.
We did not call him our kid. So
this
we finally
Slayer of 40 men, and it's like, whoa, that's a crazy name. And then
but no, David's mighty men. There's so many examples, and just seeing what they did, and like those, I don't know, man, those guys, like, it wasn't like they just, God used fallen and broken men to do great things. And just the way, if you humble yourself enough, if you humble yourself, because Jesus came to heal sinners, not the righteous. And so if we humble ourselves and acknowledge that we are sinners and we can't do all this stuff ourselves, then, you know, God is going to use us. But if we're saying, hey, I got to fix myself, or I got to do this on my own, then we're not acknowledging a need for God. Does that make sense? And just allowing, you know, as I've grown in spiritual maturity over the past few years, and I've got a long way to go, but like just seeing, like, just getting after it physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. It's like, man, I am a broken man, but like God has blessed me with so much. Like I still have the ability to train. I still have the ability to work outside. I have the ability to do all this. So I want to use that, you know, all of these things that God's blessed me with to the best of my ability. But yeah.
Well, and that's it too, is it's like, you know, tomorrow's not promised to anybody. What are you going to do today? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, man is not an island. You know, you got to surround yourself with kind, loving people, and, you know, get your tribe going and stuff like that. You know, your neighbors and things of that nature. But then also, like you said, is if people say, hey, I got this, or fake it till you make it, there's something more. There's something more way beyond that. You need to humble yourself and be willing to ask and listen. And on my first podcast, it's me and a cop buddy of mine, and we talked about divine intervention when we were police officers and how that served us. And you were over there. You know, I'm sure you've felt it and seen it and known it yourself. You know, it's real as anything there is.
Yeah, God blessed me with outstanding NCOs, because as a 23-year-old lieutenant, I was a complete moron. Like, I was such an idiot. I look back at stuff that I did, and I was like, I'm dead to God. Really blessed me with the non-commissioned officers that he gave me, because I was such an idiot, man. My platoon sergeant, Sergeant Poole, that dude was a stud. My squad leaders, my team leaders, Sergeant Petita, Sergeant Costa, all those guys, man, they were studs. And they kept me in line. I knew if I was ever dismounted and got back in the truck, and my driver would be like, hey, sir, Sergeant Poole wants you to call him. And if he ever came over and said, hey, 1-6, this is 1-7, we need to talk when we get back, I'm like, oh crap, I did something wrong. What did I do? But no, I mean, but yeah, it's like the divine intervention you were talking about, because I listened to that podcast, and man, I can look back. Like, I'm trying to get better about identifying it in the moment and really listening to where God is leading me. Because a lot of times I just, in the past, for the past 36 years, I have made a lot of decisions on my own that created a lot of difficulty, where as if I would have had the spiritual maturity, you know, to sit there and listen and look at, I think we can convince ourselves that God is wanting us to do something, you know, that God is telling us to do something, when it's really, we just want to do it and we want God to confirm that. But if we can really sit and ask for that guidance and be willing to listen to that guidance, that he'll put us where we need to be, man. And like, I never thought I would be where I am right now. But I remember when I got out of the Army, we moved to Nashville. I was a project manager for a demolition contractor, but and I thought, man, this is going to be awesome. I get to tear down buildings for a living and stuff. But like, it was not, man, the hours were crazy. I saw my kids less than I did when I was in the Army and stuff. And like, my brother owns an insurance agency down here in Alabama. And I was like, man, I'm not selling insurance. I said, I would never leave Tennessee. I would never sell insurance, and I would never never have a minivan. All three of those are the case now. Yeah. But like, man, but we moved down here, and the church we're members of, like, dude, I'm telling you, like, it is amazing. Like, if you will listen to, if you'll just follow where God is leading you, he's going to take care of you. It's not always going to be pleasant. We're not promised to have easy lives. You know, I mean, I would think if you were, you know, profess to be a believer of Christ and your life is perfect and easy, you're probably not that much of a threat to Satan. So you should check yourself. But he's going to take care of you, because like we moved down here, man, moved to this little town outside of Huntsville, and never thought I'd live here, but didn't want to leave our friends in Tennessee. We thought, man, these are our people, and they are. I love those guys, but we moved down here, man, and then what was it? September of 2019, we found out Stephanie had brain cancer, and like these people, like what are people? Like my brothers and my wife's sisters, like that's how we look at our group. There's about 6 or 8 families that are just really tight, and like if we wouldn't have listened to God, if God wouldn't have moved us, then we wouldn't have any of this support network,
Right.
And like just being around these people and having guys that hold me accountable, I don't know, man. I don't know if this is where we're going with the podcast. So sorry if
dude, it's organic, man. It's whatever it is. But no, and I'm glad you said that, because I think you're an inspiration to me, because when you told me and the other guys, in that text thread, that what was going on, and and I did a lot of praying, and I was trying to send you some encouragement and but I'm so glad that you have that support network. But that's for you to, and I think it'd be inspiring for people that get that news. For a lot of folks, it would be, oh, woe was me, and oh God, this. You're just like, hey man, you're living every day, and you're not stopping. You're moving ahead, and you're appreciating. You're living in the now, in the present moment, and you're badass for doing that. I personally admire the living crap out of you, and for you, it's probably me knowing you. What you're like, what else can I do? It is what it is.
No, well, I mean, right? Like one, it's all a matter of perspective, and like I am like I said, man, I'm a broken dude, man. Like God has just put people in my life to make me better, and when you surround yourself with good people, and God has surrounded us with good people, then you want to be better. And I mean, the support network, if we profess to be followers of Christ and we believe that when we die, we're going to go to heaven, then why are we scared of death? And that's one way to look at it, like, hey, we know, like, I know that when I die, when my wife dies, that we're going to heaven. Like, so don't live in fear. Like, we don't have to fear death anymore. But also, like, man, when it happened, like, dude, don't get me wrong. I wasn't like, all right, whatever, man. Like, she told me I should have been at the doctor's appointment. She would get migraines every now and then, but that would happen since, she was a teenager. She just get them every now and then. And so I remember saying to her one time, like, hey, you need to go get an MRI. And she's like, no, I don't. Anyway, the doctor said she had to get an MRI just for so the insurance would approve the medication. She went and got an MRI, didn't hear back for like 3 or 4 weeks. She'd gone to the doctor that day. I didn't even know she had a doctor's appointment. That, shows you what a great husband I am. But she came back, and we were getting ready to go to the beach for Labor Day weekend with some friends, and like they were leaving. I was like, man, we got to get packed up, and we got to get out of here. And she's like, I need to talk to you. We were up in one of the kids' rooms. I was like, okay. And she was like, I was thinking, what did I do? And she was like, I was like, well, what's up? She said, no, we need to go to our bedroom. I was like, oh man, I really screwed up. Right. And I was like, what did I do? And so we go in, and then she makes me shut the door. I was like, oh man,
shit.
I've done something really bad. And so I shut the door, and she's like, hey, I have a brain tumor. And I was God. Like, so like the first thing we did was pray to God for strength and peace, and for no matter the outcome, to just accept his will and know that he had a plan for this. And, one of my prayers has been like, God, please don't let us waste this, don't let us waste this thing that you've put in our life. Yeah. And just try to be an example and use this to, if this brings one person to Christ, then then it's worth it, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, when we've prayed for strength and peace, God has granted it. Like, just, he has. Not that parts of it don't suck. It does. But I mean, then the blessing of it is that as far as having this type of tumor, like, it's not curable, but I mean, most of these are really aggressive, and this one is not. And she was qualified for this clinical trial, you know, and like another girl that's in the trial with her, like, has several issues. I mean, and pretty much aside from us knowing that it's there, you wouldn't know that she had it. Like, so we've been tremendously blessed, you know, like, people are like, how's Stephanie doing? I was like, well, it's the best you absolutely can be doing with brain cancer. I mean, it's the best possible solution. So yeah, it sucks that she has it, but God's blessed us tremendously in the fact that, like, we don't know it besides the fact that we know it, if that makes sense.
Right.
So
do your kids know how was?
Yeah. I mean, and I can't say that we've got like this policy of like, we don't lie to the kids. Like, if there's something don't want the kids to know, I'm gonna say, you don't need to know this. But yeah, it took us, there was so much telling people stuff. I don't even really know how we told the kids. And I think, you know, the older ones, I've got 4, so 11-year-old boy, 9-year-old little girl, and then a 5 and 3-year-old. 5 or 6. Man, I'm sorry, I've got so many kids, I can't remember. But like, the older 2 know what's going on, and I think they kind of know like what it is and everything. But man, kids are resilient, dude. So
that's awesome, dude. That's awesome. So, like, we've covered a lot of ground. Now, the one thing I want to ask is, and I probably know the answer to this, but like, the mental, how do you deal with stress? Now, I know you pray, I know you have quiet time. Do you meditate? Do you read verses and then reflect on them? How do you get to zero when, you know, the world and all the crap happens and you're like, you know what, I need to just kind of have some chance time, go out in the barn, sit in the lotus position, hover 2 or 3 inches off the ground, humming to myself. What do you do, bro?
Yeah, no. So meditation, that's a big one. And I'll be honest with you, man. I got down here once we moved, and I got out of that, you know, and I've been trying to work back into it. But like, meditation is the best way for me to have like a focused, quiet time, you know, and not just say, oh, I need to read my Bible, so I'm going to read and jot a couple notes down so I can text a picture of it and send it to my buddies and say, hey, I read it. No, so like, what I like to do, and you know, when Chris was talking about meditation on the website, I was like, man, that is some crazy stuff. I don't know about that one, man. But I Googled, like Christian meditation or something like that. And apparently that's a thing. So I read, and it's like a 4-step process. I don't know if I'm going by the book on this one, but this is how I do it. I'll sit down, and I usually do it after I work out. I need to be more disciplined and do it before I work out, because I think my spiritual fitness is more important than my physical fitness, but baby steps, I'm getting there. But what I'll do is, typically after I worked out, I'll either, if it's like springtime and nice out, I'll sit out on the front porch, or sit in the kitchen, just sit somewhere quiet. And then I'll kind of breathe a little bit and just do some box breathing to kind of chill. And then I will read a passage, and, you know, I'm making notes and jotting things down as I read. But then I kind of take like the main theme behind it, or what I want to, or something I might be praying about that day, because I'll write a list of things that I'm praying about for that day too. But like, you know, one example I use is like in 1 Corinthians, if I had read 1 Corinthians 13, the word I would focus on is love, you know, because that's a chapter all about love. But just pick one thing, or if there wasn't a theme in there, I might just say forgiveness. If I know I need to pray about some forgiveness or something like that, and I'll meditate on that for a few minutes, and then at the end I'll pray, And then I'll just kind of do a little bit more box breathing and then go get ready for work and get after it, man.
That's good, man.
Thing too. All right. So my buddies, I told you we train together. We'll like do some dry fire training on our own throughout the day. But then on the weekends, like we'll try to get together and do some group training, whether it's marksmanship, tactics. We got a buddy from the sheriff's department down here that was into MMA. We're starting to do some boxing and grappling and stuff like that too. Which is something I don't have any experience in. So that's awesome that he's been able to teach us that. But, man, I just totally lost my train of thought. We were the mental toughness. All right. Yeah. So I'm like, hey, you need to make yourself uncomfortable because we are so comfortable in America. And even if you're working out, you can make it through a 45-minute workout and be uncomfortable. That's not enough to be uncomfortable. So find ways to make yourself uncomfortable to help that mental toughness, because any kind of uncomfort, you're going to experience discomfort in work, in life. Things don't go your way. And it's the more used to being comfortable you are, the more it's going to be hard, the harder it's going to be to process that difficult thing and process all the things coming in, where if you're used to being uncomfortable, you can just sit there and say, okay, I need to kind of function stack. I need to compartmentalize some of this stuff, and I need to prioritize and execute. So a couple things I do, try to take cold showers. I don't do it every day. But like I try to take at least like the last 30 seconds, like take a cold shower, man. I mean, it's not that bad. And with 4 kids, like especially Sunday mornings, I'm going to take a cold shower anyway, because we're going to run out of hot water. Right? But then, like, during the wintertime, maybe drive to work without the heat on in your car or something like that. Just anything to get out of your comfort zone. I was reading a book one time. I don't remember the name of it, but he was talking about Americans. He said, we need to quit working so hard to be comfortable and just be comfortable being hard or something like that. And just like make discomfort normal. So.
Well, there's a saying, got my peacock screaming, probably roosters and everything. I'm at the Kelly Ranch, so man, there's going to be all kinds of crazy animal sounds in the background. Embrace the suck, right? And if you're used to dealing with discomfort and uncomfortable, then when it happens in your life, you just like, oh, this isn't unfamiliar. I can pivot. I can compartmentalize this and do that, and I'll prioritize. And like you said, what's funny is, and I'm going to try to get my old partner. I had 2 partners when I was in Dallas, and we have happy hour every other Friday with some old cop buddies of mine. It's a freaking riot. It's awesome. But like me and my old partner, he's on there, and we used to do crazy stuff. But when we look back on it, we're like, dude, that was pretty cutting edge. That was pretty cool. Like what we'd make sure no one was around. But if we were in a park or whatever, we would have this drill where one or the other would say, sniper on the light pole, and we'd draw to this friggin' light pole as quick and as fast as we could. Sniper behind the bush, and we would just train ourselves to get really quick at drawing. And like, we were, probably not the smartest thing to do when you're a uniformed police officer on duty, and fingers off the trigger, right? But I mean, fully loaded weapon. We're doing all this stuff, and we're like calling it out and like whatever. But the other thing, he goes, do you remember when it was winter and we were driving down the road, and it was probably around Christmas time, and he said, we rolled down the windows. He goes, this was my idea. I said, let's roll down the windows and let's put our hand out the window and see who can hold their hand out the window the longest, and it's freezing cold and it's winter, and we're like trying to be hard asses, just skin feels that thick, and like, good thing we didn't have we weren't doing our gun hand. I was a lefty, he was a righty, so I had my right hand, he had his left hand out the window. We wanted our gun hand to be able to function. But that's kind of like what you said, drive to work with the heat on in the winter, or the heat off in the winter, just to get uncomfortable. Well, we would do goofy stuff like that, but hell, it kind of served us well. But
that's what I do with my little boys when when me and my wife give them a bath at night, like there was like during the winter, my wife put a space heater in the bathroom and like turn that on sometimes. And like the little boys would get out of the bathtub and like dry off and they'd be like, oh, I'm so cold. And they would go turn that space heater on. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm not raising you to be weak. Turn that junk off. If you don't want to be cold, dry off and get dressed or sit there and get used to being cold. Like, I don't know, man, just like anything we can do to remove ourselves from this soft, civilized society and be hard, like, because I was so soft growing up, man. I didn't realize, I thought I was tough because I played football. Oh, brother, I wasn't, man. Even in the Army, like, like now I want to be a warrior. I think like a Christian man and a warrior should, those are like synonymous. I mean, because it's about sacrificing yourself, giving your life to Christ. You give your life for a higher cause. And it's not like when we talk about giving our life to Christ or giving your life for a higher cause, everybody thinks about the death aspect of it, where there's the life aspect of it, the living part of your life. What are you doing? Like your life should be centered around that and like growing and getting better every day and helping other people get better every day. Because when I was in the Army, like, man, I never looked at myself like, oh, I'm wanting to be a warrior. I never thought about it. Like I was just around a lot of good dudes. And it was just like, hey, we need to do, like Pat McNamara says, basic dude stuff, that's like one of my favorite terms. Like, this is not special. This is basic dude stuff. And so when I got out of the Army and I was removed from that, I was like, I just felt a little different, because not everybody was like that.
Right.
And I realized my shortcomings and how soft I had been when I was in the military. And I was like, man, I've got a family to leave. I've got to lead, and I've got a wife to protect and be like be a servant and spiritual type leader. I've got to get hard. I'm weak right now. And so that just kind of, I call it like, man, chasing the line, dude. Like, I look at, have you seen, the Chronicles of Narnia? Have you ever seen that series? So like when the witch, I don't know what the name, whatever the witch is, like her and Aslan, the lion, go in there and have their little meeting, and then he comes out and she says something to him about upholding his deal, and he just roars at her. And I'm like, man, like that, because the lion represents to me, it's supposed to represent Christ, and at least I think that's what he's supposed to represent. I'm not
that's what it means to you. That's what it means to you.
And I'm like, so that's, if Christ is the type, we're supposed to be like Christ. We're supposed to be that biblical, I guess that is biblical manhood perfection is Jesus Christ. And I'll look at that line. I was like, man, that's what manhood is. He's meek. He's soft when he needs to be, but he can throw down when he needs to. And so it's just this pursuit. And I call it like, man, I feel like I'm chasing the line. I'm never going to get there, but I just want to keep taking steps towards it,
Yeah, well, that's like when you and I talked right before this, we had a little chit chat before I hit record, but mastery, perfection, all that stuff is treading water. It's effort. And keep your head above water. And if you stop paddling, you're going to sink. And it's this constant thing. That's the chase, what you're talking about.
Dude, I think that's a great example.
Oh, thank you.
By the way,
I got a YouTube video that I put out that says everybody wants to be the man until it gets tough, right? So everybody wants their number called when it's 4th and 2, and you're going to win score the winning touchdown until it becomes difficult or hard, right? So that's what I've tried to, because I'm a manager, I'm a safety manager in my job, and a lot of people will call me for stuff, and it's easy for me to go, God, what a pain in the ass. Why don't they just do what I tell them to do? Why do I have to tell them again? And then it's like, well, wait a minute, let's turn that on its side, right? It's like they're calling you for your advice and your counsel to direct them in the right way. Don't be a puss. I'm like, everybody wants to be the man until, hey, you want to be the go-to guy? People are going to call you with questions. think of it as an honor. Hey, that's what knights have to do. Knights have to deal with people that go, hey man, which end is the sword do I? Oh my God. Oh, let me show you. So
yeah,
that's how I try to process.
Do you read Mosby? You read Mosby at all? I think I've seen a couple of articles.
Yeah, I have read a few. Yes,
like a mountain gorilla or whatever. So he published this article or blog or whatever. I don't know when. I read it a while back. I even printed copies out and gave it to the guys this morning when we were training. But and I'm going to butcher the French here, but it's a term. He named it noblesse oblige or something like that. But in English, it means nobility obligates. And he's saying basically like you're getting after it. You talking about being the man, and then people calling you and you having to do tough stuff. Well, that's your job. I look at the nobility, back in the day, the nobility were the leaders and stuff like that. Like, so you're obligated to be that servant leader. Leaders don't have it better. Leaders have it much, much harder, and so everybody wants to be a leader until it's time to do leader stuff. Yeah. And like everybody wants to be a parent until it's time to do parent stuff, or be a husband until it's time to do husband stuff. Like, you gotta do it because you're obligated. You are obligated to them, to your family, to your brothers, your group, your tribe, your whatever. Yeah, it's
embrace it, man, and it's an honor to be in that position. So I used to find myself getting pissed off, and then I just say, "Hey, that's what knights do." That's what the nobility, like you said.
Man, like one of my biggest. I have a lot of regrets as an Army officer. Most of them came from a platoon leader, like, oh, I should have done that differently, or oh my gosh, I was so stupid. But I remember we were at the National Training Center about to go into the box. We had been there for like a week prepping and doing all this stuff, and then we were going to go do the actual training exercise for a couple of weeks. And I had 1,000 things on my mind, like being one, not knowing what I was doing, trying to figure that out, but like just getting stuff ready to roll. And one of my soldiers came up, and I don't remember exactly what he asked me, but like he was like, "Hey sir, I was thinking I'll get a styrofoam cooler, and that way we could keep some ice and we might have some cold water for a while," or something like that. I don't know what it was. It was something like that. And I was like, dude, I don't care what you do, man. That's fine. Or something like, I just kind of blew him off like, whatever, man, that doesn't matter. And again, my platoon sergeant was a stud. He pulled me aside and said something to the effect of like, hey, I know that was a dumb question for him to ask you. He should have just done whatever. But in his mind, he is doing everything he can to help. And he came to you asking you. You can't say it doesn't matter or you don't care. Take the time to listen. And man, that was like a 2-minute period of my life. But that conversation and Sergeant Poole caring enough about me as a platoon leader to tell me that, like, I will never forget that. Like, so many lessons from like that, like, as I was not a stellar leader as a platoon leader, but I had stellar leaders working for me as my, NCOs. I've learned so many things about like what to do and how to lead. And that's helped me lead my family, like help lead my brothers, and they help lead me. I don't know, man. So
but beautiful, dude. And it there's a video that I wanted to film that's got, and it's the guy I did my first video, my first podcast with, Bill. But one of
I watched that podcast. That dude's a stud, man.
Oh, I love him, man. I love him. He's my bro, man. He is a stud. But I like you, like if I were to pick a dream team, it'd be like Chance, Bill. We could just be like this super entry team from hell, but or from heaven actually. But one of the things is because there's things that he said in my life that. One of my points is like one of the videos I wanted to film was like, you never know what's going to stick. right? So be careful what you say to people, because it could affect them in a negative way, or it could affect them in a really profound way. Because Bill said some things to me that were like, it was a snapshot in time. It might have been a two-minute conversation, but it was like, I carried it with me the rest of my life, you know, and to have a friend like that was amazing, you know. So kind of to your point as well, you know, it's like, hey, this is a 2-minute conversation. You've met some people, you never know what's going to stick. But the lesson there too is watch what comes out of your mouth, because it could stick in a good way or a bad way, you know?
Dude, how true is that? You know, I mean, I think that like the period of life I'm in right now, it's like my kids, like I remember stuff my father said to me, good and bad, most of it good, but there are times where I was like, oh yeah, you know, I can give my dad a hard time about stuff now, but yeah, I mean, not, so it's a lot of it's focused around like, what am I saying to my kids that's gonna, and you putting it that way, like what you just said about be careful what you say, or you never know what's gonna stick.
Right.
I'm not gonna forget that either, because dude, I can be a loose cannon, brother.
Oh, me too, bro. Me too. So, yeah.
Sometimes
that's
I'll
part of
say
that treading water, right? Got to constantly remind ourselves, try to be the best
like
version of ourselves.
That just stuck, man. Because it's so true. You got to be careful, and it's like, well, so I've got to be on my game all the time. Yep.
That's what men do. That's what real men are responsible for. What comes out of your mouth, right? Accountability.
It's the day in, day out pursuit of that line, man. You just got to keep chasing it.
That's it, man. That's a friggin' great way to end this, bro, on a high note. Dude.
Yeah, brother.
I appreciate you so much for taking the time. I've got a buddy that lives in Tennessee, and I want to drive and go see him, and I want to like make a round robin and like try to, when I go see him, if I'm driving, stop and make time to see you. I would love to meet your crew and your tribe, and I would love to bring a bunch of sticks and we could do some stick drills, and I could show y'all some cool shit.
That would be awesome, brother. Anytime, man. We're not too far from the state line either. So, so yeah, I would love that, man. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Well, let's stay in touch like we always do. And you're an inspiration, and I love you to death, and all the best. If you ever need anything, reach out to me, brother.
Same here, brother. Love you too, man.
All right. Take care. We'll talk soon.
All right, brother.
Later.
All right. Bye.